goes to the subsurface. So it is, in a way, it is an interaction between the atmosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere. If we can understand the river in its fullest form, we will not be able to understand or prepare a plan to rejuvenate. Now the time has come for rejuvenating the rivers, which was not there earlier. The rejuvenation of a river was unheard maybe 5-10 years back. The terminology river rejuvenation in earth science explains that it is a change in topography. When there is a fault zone, the river which had attained maturity will gain back its youth stage. That is coined as rejuvenation of a river. But actually, now, since decades, the water problem, it is going extremely high water stress. So, a river is a natural process. It is not just a feature or an object. It is a natural process which keeps cycling. And there are many partners there. We have several layers of a river basin. As soon as the water falls on the ground, we call that as surface water. When it percolates, we call it as groundwater. And when it gets into the atmosphere through the vegetation cover and the evaporation, we call that as moisture. The river cannot be dissected by these layers. So copying nature, and about 50 years back, what was the situation? Even still back, all of this part of the country was called as Dandakaranya or Jambudvipa, like that. There was a harmony between these layers of the earth, and the water used to move. And that's why river can be called as provider of the water for each and every living being, whether it is a microbe in the soil or aquatic creature or aerial feature. So it was a provider of water to each and every life system. But because we think as the river, by even the managers, river as the surface water, we divert it, we store it, and we do what not. We do all that. Even now the time has come to artificially put the water below the surface. That was not there in the practice. There was a natural management of water in an integrated way to provide to every living beings. That is distorted since 5 or 6 decades maximum. So now the time has come for us to rejuvenate. I call the river basin as a life system itself. So we have to understand the anatomy and physiology of the river basin and copy it, how the root system were taking the water below the surface, and we had a very good aquifer which can store water than any of the dams. Each and every inch of land has several meters of depth with the porous rocks, which we call it as aquifers. These aquifers, whenever it rains, so we complain on rains. There is variation in rain, but the variation is temporary. But in a long term, in short term, there is variation. This year we had very good rains, previous 2 years very lean rain. Next year it may be there or it may not be there. But in a long term, total volume of water that falls on the ground will enter the different layers of the earth or the land and make it available sustainably before it reaches the sea. It has to reach the sea. So its path is, but what has happened? We have distorted. We have distorted the natural arrangement which existed. There was an integrated water resource management in nature. That we have distorted by, you all know, by deforestation, industrialization, urbanization, whatnot. So, as a result, this drastic land use change, reduction of the natural vegetation, increasing rate of soil erosion and siltation has made the rivers becoming what? Perennial rivers have become semi-perennial, semi-perennial have become dried up. But when we consider there is water available for us to save it again, that is the actual concept of river rejuvenation. There is dire need to harvest rainwater and increase the water potential both on surface and subsurface. This was being taken care by the soil cover, the vegetation and whatnot. Now, we have to do it. We have to recreate that kind of vegetation cover and easy percolation of water into the aquifers, and these aquifers will, in the morning, some professors were telling how the streams become, there will be loss of water and there will gain of water. So they will become effluent and influent. So the influent stream, we have to create all the streams have become influent now. Even that has been overexploited. So now we have to see that they become effluent. That is the concept of, see, that is what I told. It is not just a stream, it is a network of stream. It is not just network of stream, it is an area. So when we want to rejuvenate the water, we have to address the river basin or the hydrological boundary. If we do it in a small patches, because the government programs or such watershed development, it is mostly on the administrative boundaries, but we do consider the hydrological boundary. But when we address it is as a river system, the entire simultaneously, if we can rejuvenate the whole basin, there will be possibility of water to flow perennially. So how we do it? First we have to bring awareness in the art of living, that is the strength. When a group of scientists, we create the action plan using the remote sensing, GIS and all that. That has to be educated to the local people, the area, stakeholders. They have to understand. Many of them were asking me, why do you come to our village, sir? There is no river here. He does not know his village is also part of some river. So we have to give that kind of vision to the people for their participation. So first is the education and training on the action plan that we prepare. And each river basin can be divided into small hydrological boundaries like this, mini watershed or micro watershed, which will match with a set of villages. So we have to go to the village Gram Panchayats and tell them your Panchayat lies in such a mini watershed and it is your responsibility to take care of it. So each and every village is part of that mini watershed and they need drinking water, they need water for their irrigation, and they have water bodies which were built by the ancestors, which were storing water, are silted up, and even the stream flows, it is not getting percolated. Many streams are encroached or silted up. So there will be flash floods, that especially in the black cotton soil area. Even small rains will splash it to the neighboring farmer's land and create problem. So we need to address these issues, and we use this technology of remote sensing. It is a wonderful sky in the eye in the sky to watch what is happening, where, which village has what kind of problem, and also prepare the action plan village-wise, where to, in a village, in what position, using GPS with coordinates, we can locate proper sites. Because we can go on harvesting water and recharging everywhere, it may not work. Because as per the anatomy of the basin, we have some different geomorphic units. We have valley fills, we have hills, where it can easily percolate down, where the soil thickness is more, where the erosion is getting lost. So we have to address these issues. This is the methodology. And we have to do it in two ways. One is short term, immediate, and the long term. See, the boulder checks are just, they are not check dams, but they checks the speed of the running water and increases the soil moisture. And then next to it, when the water slows down in a stream, we have to put that water below the soil, because the thin vegetation cover is not able to do it. If we had good vegetation cover, each tree will act as a check dam, because the roots have the process of what is called as ascent of sap, which sucks the water from the soil and put it to the canopy. While doing so, the water is struck in the gravity zone, which will just push us to the aquifers. The water table rises. This was an annual thing which was happening. Now we have to do it artificially. As we give glucose injection to the patient, we have to do this kind of artificial recharge structures, like boulder checks to check the speed of the running water, and also recharge wells to connect the weathered rock from the soil. So the soil also allows percolation, but it is very slow. Now is high time now, that too, changing rainfall pattern. We have intensive rains. In a day we receive the rainfall of a week or a month, like that. So that water has to be harvested, and we have to see that it is put to the weathered rock, aquifer. So when we penetrate the soil, so we have to go for what are called as recharge wells. Earlier we were digging to draw water, now we have to dig well to put water, the recharge wells. And in the hard rock area, the water levels have gone so deep, the fracture zone is also become dry. So we have to inject water. So where you inject the water, from the bottom of the recharge wells, we can drill a well and see that when heavy rain flows there, it will reach the deeper aquifers and raise the water table. Yeah. I'll finish. This is almost over. So this is just to give the vision. The surface water will become groundwater, and groundwater will become again surface water. So there is wave-like movement in the layers of the river bed, and this has to be re-established. This was there, but now. So these are the things which I already told: harvesting rainwater, reducing. So this is the way to do it, and we have done it in many areas, and very good results have been received. Thank you. You wanted something? Health section, yeah. You wanted to take photo? I think you can get it from.
Yeah, we can. They will give you this.
Thank you for patient hearing. Any questions, I'll answer later. Thank you.
Now, I request Prabhas Chandra Rai, who is an Indian Forest Service, who is also very well known for plantation and other things, how river can be rejuvenated by plantation by using this Narega method. So he is going to give you some idea about involvement of the government and how he has done this in basins.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. Respected Chairperson, Co-Chair, Dr. Lingaraj, sir. I had the fortune of associating with the Art of Living initiative on river rejuvenation since 4 years back. It was in the year 2013 when Dr. Lingaraj, Mr. Nagaraj Gangoli, and Art of Living team, we sat together and we were discussing about how the government can participate in the river rejuvenation initiative which the Art of Living has taken. 2013 December to be precise. Thereafter, as already Dr. Lingaraj told you, the 3 projects, the Vedavati River Rejuvenation, the Komodavati River Rejuvenation Project, and the Pala River Rejuvenation Project. These 3 projects were already drawn up by the Art of Living. Dr. Lingaraj had done a very scientific basis, based on very scientific and based on his huge experience, drawing a particular methodology which he just explained, had prepared this project, and using some CSR funding, this project was already under implementation. At that stage, the government, I was working as a special commissioner in rural development in government of Karnataka. So we sat together and took it forward under Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Guarantee Employment Program. Actually, there are several methodologies of the river rejuvenation. You might have heard few months back, the Isha Foundation, they had a huge, from south, down south to the north, a campaign in which they also signed a memorandum with the state governments. That Isha Foundation, the river rejuvenation initiative is primarily focused on tree plantation on both sides of 1 kilometer stretch on both sides of the river. How do we take up afforestation in the government land? How do we take up horticulture in the private land where water is available? And of course, so that is, in fact, a memorandum has been signed for 3 years to plant 25 crore of plantation in Karnataka on 9th of September 2017. So that is catchment area protection methodology, and huge awareness is being created. This Art of Living methodology, which Dr. Lingaraj has authored, and this methodology of engineering methods of increasing the base flow in the river, as Guruji morning told, that's the tributaries, the rivers, first order, second order, third order, fourth order, those various orders of the streams which make up which finally reach the river. How do we help increase the base flow? What intervention do we do in addition to the watershed treatment in the catchment area? So this methodology has been very successful, proven, instant. In fact, immediately the results can be seen. So I was fortunate to associate with this project, and we took it upon under NREGA, under Mahatma Gandhi NREGA program. I'll just give you what we did, what is my experience of 3 years working in this project. Since 2014 to 16, we took this project. Next, I myself will do. So of Karnataka, as you all know, we have this is statistics. Need not be repeated on that. 30 districts, we have some 6,000 odd panchayats. We have, under NREGA, there is a Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Guarantee Employment Program. There is a particular procedure. As you all aware, the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Guarantee Employment Program is designed to provide up to 100 days of unskilled employment to the rural people per house, 100 days per household, up to 100 days. So that is what is the mandate of this act, enacted in 2006, and it is the largest unskilled wage employment program in the world. This allocation stands to 40,000 crore plus in the country. 40,000 crore plus allocation, and 60% of this allocation has to be utilized for agriculture and allied activities. So in the agriculture and allied activities related to tree planting, water conservation, land development, all these activities. So there is a huge potential if 24,000, 60% of this 40,000 crore allocation of 24,000 crore is available to be spent on tree planting, water conservation, recharge, on land development, in various asset creation activities, which will also provide, of course, the employment. The major first objective is employment creation, unemployment, income generation, and second objective is asset creation. So what is the asset which can be created? So this is what the asset, when we met and I saw the project and we discussed the wonderful asset, this, the boulder checks, the percolation wells, the injection wells, and the water pool. These are the wonderful assets which will improve the base flow of the river, which will lead to ultimately the rejuvenation of the river. This is the best work which can be done under MG Narega. So these are all have been explained why the river, how do we do the methodology also, Doctor. Now this is what the boulder checks which done, how it section looks and how on ground work photo and the first phase of the Vedavati river rejuvenation, which was taken up in the Chikmagalur district and Taluka in Karnataka. The 49 villages of 375 square kilometer catchment area where the river Vedavati originates. There the first phase of the project was done. So these are the, this is how the recharge well, this is how the injection wells are done. Dr. Lingaraj will be more qualified to explain if there is any question on that than me. So this 13-14 we started this, and this is the first phase project area of 49 villages and 10 gram panchayats in Chikmagalur district and Taluka. And this is how the plan was. 810 structures had already been identified when we entered in the scene. So what we did was actually, we got a model cost estimates prepared, model estimates for each of the structure. We got it prepared by our engineers. We got it, we approved it in the headquarters in the Rural Development Commissionerate. And then Mr. Nagaraj Ganguly, he had already got these works approved in the Gram Sabhas. In the Gram, the action plan was already approved by the Gram Sabhas. So that is the requirement of the Narega works. Any work to be taken up under Narega has to be approved by Gram Sabha, and finally by the district program coordinator, that is Jilla Panchayat Chief Executive Officer in Karnataka. Other places it's called Chief Development Officers or like that. So these works 2014-15 were implemented, most of these works were done, and the result of these works, the initial assessment of these works led to huge encouragement to us that the bore wells which are dried up, they got started yielding water. The yield which was less, the yield was also increased. The siltation was decreased. This is all. This was the observations of the first initial impact for the first phase works, and that led us to, these are the kinds you can see Nagaraj Ganguly. So then this, during 15-16, based on the initial results of the first phase project works, Mr. Himanshu, Mr. Nagaraj Ganguly, Lingaraj sir, we all sat together and prepared the second phase of the Vedavati River Rejuvenation project, which was actually very ambitious. If you see, this project is spread over 5,500 square kilometer area, right from the origin area up to the Hiriyur Taluka till the river meets the Marikanwe Dam. So the 5 districts spreads over, mainly in Chikmagalur, Chitradurga and Hassan district, little bit in Tumkur, and so there are these watersheds. There are 5 mini watersheds are there in which this Vedavati phase 2 the catchment area comes. This is how the total 200 odd panchayats are there, 1,250 villages. So this project we prepared for almost 200 crores. Some 22,000 structures were identified based on the GIS and the remote sensing data. And Dr. Lingaraj and his team were very meticulously mapped it using the GIS and remote sensing, the huge support in preparation of the plan using the GIS and remote sensing. And so this was the total plan. We had a huge plan. We created a implementation structure from the headquarters. I was steering, and the district level, the Jila Panchayat CEO was implementing. The taluka level structure was created. At the Hobli level, group of Panchayat level, the structure was created, where an engineer was placed full time. At the taluka level, we provided a social coordinator who was trained in art of living. At the district level, the art of living provided their own coordinators. And that's how we started implementing these programs. This methodology is given by Mr. Nagaraj Gangoli, that 40 job card holders. Under NREGA, anybody to work must hold a job card. If it doesn't have, can be issued within a week. So the job card has to be, every individual has, every household has to have a job card, where all the people in that house, they are listed. They are entitled to do 100 days of household. The objective behind the NREGA is 3 months odd days in a year when the lean period, when there will not be agricultural season. That time the people need their employment. That time people migrate to the urban areas. So this NREGA program can provide them the livelihood. So the job card holders, then above few groups of job card holders, Kayak Bandhu, under 5 minutes. So this monitoring mechanism I explained you, that was done. The timelines we had drawn, the planning, implementation. We got the Kayak Bandhus trained in the art of living. We had YLTP program here, 1 week program for each of those batches, where the river rejuvenation was explained, the NREGA program procedure was explained, the art of living, the YLTP program. So the several batches of trainings were conducted. They were taken to the first phase area for exposure visits, and this is how some 5,000 odd works were done, and concurrent impact assessment done. Professor Subramania, forenoon he spoke to you. He also did some assessment and gave his observations. So then this was the major program under the Vedavati we did. Then Palar and Kumudavati also, which the art of living themselves are doing. That also works we took up under NREGA, and thousands of structures have been, there are in the Kumudavati, you can see some 300 odd structures have been completed, spending some 160 lakhs and 49,000. So the Palar, you know, this Naga Nadi catchment in Palar Basin in Chikballapur, this is how the some more than 1 lakh person days were generated. So these are this methodology. Along with that, the afforestation and the other convergence program. So I'm just telling and the government in the rural development and the NREGA, the various kinds of recharge works we are doing. Some 2-3 years we did more than 800 crores of rupees worth work, water conservation work. Only work related to water harvesting, water recharge, water conservation. So the Government of India team had visited, saw these areas, MORD team had the various, you can see the ground level photos. Morning you saw the methodology explained, the planning and the technology, how it can be used. Now I am showing you the actual ground photos, the works in various districts, those percolation wells, recharge wells, how those were done using the NREGA works and NREGA procedures. Sometimes in NREGA there will be some fund shortage will be there. There will be some material, particularly not more than 60% of the NREGA fund can be utilized for not more than 40% for material cost. Some of the works are material intensive, so that leads to some slow speed maybe, and some places if the wage rate is very high, the local people may not turn up. So that is one of the constraints that we have to factor in. These are the water ponds. These Palar. So that's all my experience with river rejuvenation works. The methodology given by Dr. Lingaraj had been wonderful. till last year, August, I was involved in the implementation, and then I moved on to the horticulture sector. And now I am reaping the benefit of the water, which water conservation and recharge works we did. Now we are into the production of the horticulture crops, into the FPO activity, farmer producer companies, into the PPP IHD projects we are doing to help FPOs market their produce, or farmers market their produce. That's how we are doing. We are doing a huge micro irrigation in addition to the horticulture area expansion. So that's my present areas of work. Any query, I will be very happy to explain. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Guru Bala Murugan to speak on socio-economic impact of assessment of Kumadwati River Basin.
Very good afternoon. So far, the speaker were more concentrated on science and technology. How we have to conserve the water after that area receives the sufficient rainfall or insufficient rainfall. Now, the topic is totally different. How it's benefit to the society. So, on the based on the information received from RRP team, we have done some study of social impact in the as a whole of Godavari River Basin. Before starting my presentation, I would like to thank to the RRP team, especially Dr. Ingaraji sir and SK sir, for their support and guidance to carry out such kind of studies. I quite impressed while I was in the field. Whatever they have done is really reflect on the field in the way of water recharging and how the society also benefited in the different form. Because any kind of project, whether before the implementation of the project or after implementation of the project, the socio-economic impact study is very, very important, because end of the day, the project is going to benefit the society, but what are the way the project is going to benefit? Whether it's near, reach to the basic amenity level, or their socio-economic or their status. So in this aspect, we have done the preliminary study. This study is not very detailed because we want to do a trial, how much it's really reflect on the ground and how the people perceive about the river rejuvenation project schemes, and how we have to go within the larger scale in the micro level. So these are our aim. So in this context, we have done some kind of field work in the Godavari River. And what are the socio-economic indicators we have to take? We have to take broadly demographic detail, agriculture, irrigation method, livestock, and rural infrastructure. So if you are taking that demographic detail, what kind of peoples are living? So whether it's people, why India still we are having more human resource because of the 25 years generation more than 60%. It's saying that census data, if you are looking at the Europe countries, that level is very low. That's why that important, the demographic detail, what kind of peoples are living, what is their age, and what is the ratio between the female and male ratio, whether all of them are agriculture, depends on agriculture, or they are depend on the other source of livelihood. So agriculture, yes, when you have gone through the field visit, almost more than 60% of the people depends upon the agriculture and agriculture labor. So we have to more focus on their income based on their agriculture. And we also observed some of the horticulture also is a concern because of their water resource increase in that region. Apart from that, irrigation system is in Karnataka, overall Karnataka state, it's a well established drip irrigation system they are doing, and they are more concerned about the water usage. And livestock, when in the field visit, what we have observed, their milk production is more in the region, especially we are looking at Nalamangala and some part of Magadi. They are tied with private and government milk dairy product companies. And rural infrastructures play major role. Why? Because whenever we talk about the socio-economic impact factor, yes, we have developed the facility in that area, especially in the river rejuvenation project. After getting the production, how they have to transport these things to the demand area, supply to the local area to Bangalore or other places. So that's why we are talking about the rural infrastructure, how much important. Already, Lingaraj sir already described the Kumudavati river. So Kumudavati river is originating from the Nelamangala and Magadi taluks. And almost there are 278 villages are located. And most of the populations are dependent upon the agriculture and agriculture protections. So what was the past scenario? Why we have to done that river rejuvenation and recharge different kind of structures, and what is the condition now? The first condition was the peoples are more depends upon the agriculture. A few years, decades, maybe 20, 15 years before, the switch over to all the agricultural land become the eucalyptus tree plantations. So which is harm to the environment, not only environment, it is harm to their livelihood also. Why? The eucalyptus will come, sell it after 6-7 years or 3-4 years, but what about their daily needs and other things? So it's a big gap formed because of the for the agriculture farmers. So in that, later on what we have done after the implementation of the river rejuvenation project, almost 50-60% of the people switch over to the horticulture farming because they visually saw the water is there in the surface and subsurface also, that their bore wells and dug wells recharged. So they start farming the different horticulture and flowers. So major part of the land use under the, because of this condition, now we have, after in the field visit, what are the things we have observed in the vegetables, different kind of vegetables they are cultivating, especially tomato, cabbage, bitter gourd, and so on. And fruits also they are cultivating. Still, actually what happened, if you are looking at the northern part of Nelamangala, where that Kumudavati river is starting, most of the, once upon a time, there was a huge grape production is there along the Dodpallapur and other areas. Now if you are looking, some of the land become the eucalyptus. When we look at the field in the last April, when we have done the field visit, the somewhat the eucalyptus forest plantation is vanished. So when we interact with the community, because of that water they have seen in the ground, so they want to bring it back to their agriculture practice back. So that's why I used that word is agriculture rejuvenation. So not only that, they are more doing the mulberries, which is silkworm and other things. It's quite interesting because if you are looking at the eucalyptus, somebody else eucalyptus fields are there. Very adjacent to that, they are cultivating the mulberries and the grapes and flowers, different mixed crop vegetables we are observed. So this is the Nelamangala, and not only that, when you are talking about the social impact assessment studies, the environment and other things also very important, because if you are looking at Nelamangala, especially these areas, it's very close to the Bangalore, hardly 50 to 60 kilometer reaches. So still some of the family, those who are traditionally cultivating, they're still holding it. The small holder only they are changing it, but after this project, what we have observed, they are trying to turn to the agriculture practice. That is a very good point which we really proud of it, really reach that particular aspect to the grassroots level. We have just mapped it, the different, we randomly selected the few villages, what are the crops are there. So we can see that only few locations are the eucalyptus crops are there, but most of the areas you can see that mixed crop. Even they are having the plantation, but they are having the mixed crop type of cultivation. So in the Magadi, what happened in the Magadi, in the Nelamangala, compared to Nelamangala, Magadi is somewhat different. How? It's a more undulated terrain, and it's not that much thickness of soil is existing in the Magadi Taluk. If you are looking, it's a hard rock, weathered hard rock, fracture rocks are existing. Still, the peoples are trying to cultivating the different vegetables items. So my final conclusion, that the local communities rejuvenating their agriculture activities, because they are visually observed that water is there, which were not there 20-15 years before, with so many reasons. And due to that, they are come to wherever they are getting the less water, they are cultivating the ragi, maize, and the groundnut things as a seasonal crop. But wherever they are very close, if you are looking at Kumudavadi river, which is wherever the agriculture fields are very close to the river bed or artificial recharge structure closest to that, they are cultivating the vegetables. So this is very important one. Apart from that, they are doing mulberry also for silkworm production. Apart from that, these are the things we have observed. What are the large scale things? So we want to go for the first further very micro level studies, because Art of Living RRP team and TIS, we made a MOU to carry out the socio-economic impact very micro level. That means individual household level in the selected areas. Why? If you are putting lot of effort in the scientific way, technology to improve the water resource in the given area, so how it is really impact their peoples, those who are living in and around those localities. So micro level means the individual household. If you are looking at demographic detail, if you are talking about the socio-economic status, how individual their economic status, livelihood status increased, what are the infrastructure is developed, and we need really tie up the government sectors and other CSR hub to formulate, to tie up with the agriculture farmer to further whatever they grown and how they have to sell into the market or nearby towns. That's all. Thank you very much.
You have, all of you have heard three important lectures. The first was to rejuvenate water based on arrest water where it falls. This was Lingaraju's principle. Second was conservation of forest, grow more trees and protect water. The third one was how equitably we can distribute water and what is the cropping pattern we should develop. As a matter of fact, there are large number of dams in the Maharashtra, and 4% of the agriculture area consumes 75% of the water. Most of it is in the form of sugar cane. Growing sugar cane amounts to export of water. This is what ultimately the last presentation was based upon. As a matter of fact, the whole of the ecology of the Western Ghats got spoiled because of the coffee plantation and tea plantation, which are the commercial products that was developed by the British people and continued even today also. Now we are going to hear the last lecture by Dr. Hegde, how the water consumed and water utilized should be pushed into the ground and should be utilized as and when we require it. This is his basic principle. Hegde.
Thank you, Dr. Saukar. And then dignitaries on the dais. First of all, I must thank Art of Living for giving me this opportunity to present certain cases and then be part of their program, which has to be seen as a sustainable process only when we start concurrent monitoring and evaluation. They put in a process in place so that the millions of rupees, lakhs of manpower which gone into the process of rejuvenating, or what do we say, the groundwater recharge, becomes useful, and then we have something to show to posterity. So that way, good evening to everybody. I'll just, of course, I'll not talk about importance of groundwater or importance of water and all that. Directly, I'll come to the point. We have recharge taking place naturally. In hard rock terrains of Karnataka, it is maximum one can have is 9%. What we are trying to do, is it going to be beneficial? And if at all we are trying to do, are we following a process? Are we following a definite scientific definition on that? Or are we taking concurrence of the landscape ecosystem? And how are we going to monitor it in the future? On these aspects, I show a couple of slides which speaks themselves what is in store for us tomorrow. Today we started with scientific basis and we put in a monitoring system, and then we have to have a continuous system of looking what is happening so that what we have done today remains for future. I'll go with yeah, I don't have to exemplify the system of our own over-exploitation of resources. Rather, I should not say over-exploitation, but Professor Subramania told, it's a compulsion. We have been growing and population is growing and we need more water. So Kumudavati catchment, it has almost, the statistics, almost about 600, the tanks are 202 tanks. Length of, so why I'm presenting this is, what is the cumulative length of streams which carries runoff which is produced out of a rainfall event? And then how do you channelize? Then what is the number we are talking about? And then whether that numbers has relevance to our landscape system, that way. So length of main streams is 35, that means Kumudavati starting from Nijigal Betta. And then comes to about 287 villages, that's the population. Dynamic resource of groundwater as on, of course, I had a chance of course, I have been working from last 1996 onwards. I have been working on Kumudavati, Arkavati and Hesrad. In fact, Arkavati. So estimation done during 2010 was 34.92, almost 35 MCM, million cubic meter was the groundwater, that means dynamic groundwater resource, which is replenishable every year. That time the draft was 43.67 MCM. The result is we have exceeded, that means 125% of the groundwater draft was as on 2010 itself. And then 4 decades ago, I had seen myself Kumudavati at certain portion during rainy season, non-rainy periods, flowing. But I have not seen it last almost 20 years. I have not seen it running even monsoonal time, non-rainy days. That's how it is. Of course, 2008, we had one more chance. Perceptions. So there are two kinds of things what happens to mankind. One I'm talking about is a quantitative deterministic parameter of the resource. Second thing is my perception, societal. Almost about 6-7 years back, government perceived that the check dams, the bridges, the culverts are the obstructions to the flow of water to Tipkonalli. Okay, I only did the work. I told him it is ridiculous to say that groundwater or the water flow is being impeded. I said it is beneficial. That time when we did, we had on the mainstream I'm talking about, not on the second order or first order streams, check dams were 56, that's statistics, it goes up. There's some problem. No. Okay. Okay. Yeah. This is fine. So some of the principle which I'll finish in 5 minutes. Groundwater is one among the important natural resources, particularly the semi-arid tropic regions. It provides water for, of course, anyway, and then important aspect of it is sustains stream flow, and then it has ecological services. Second part, increased withdrawals in Kumudavati. I'll just quickly come to Kumudavati. Even during the monsoon season, as I told, it has stopped. Analysis of groundwater levels under influence, anthropogenic stress is related. I have some quotes onto this. And then land use basically determines the runoff. We have different kinds of recharge happening. One is from normal precipitation, which is indirect induced, which goes up to paddock zone, and then it may reach the groundwater table. But when it is channelized, when it comes to streams, if you impede the water for some time, there are chances of it directly getting recharged. That way I'm talking about land use determines monsoon runoff, which is also the quantitative input system, and the tank storage, water spread. This also indicators of how do we look into that. And then water used for cropping in dry season. It is directly groundwater abstract. And then resumption of stream flow, which we are all keenly waiting for, that Kumudavati should resume flowing at least couple of months in a year. So that is where basically indicates health of a catchment. So the parameter, the land use, land cover, groundwater extraction, and depth to groundwater level, which is one of the most quantitative indicator, and then water level, water spread. Of course, I must tell you, none of the tanks, as there were as many as 202, have never had correct water spread, which was during 1973, when Survey of India prepared the topo sheet with ground level mapping. And then, okay, runoff potential. Each system has its own potential and its own vigor, and then what happens to its potential that way, and water conservation and recharge structures. These were the points where we went ahead with the evaluation or monitoring. Of course, each slide will speak about what we need to do it first. Here I am just talking, congratulating Art of Living and then its partners for having done such a wonderful work. This is distribution of boulder checks in the Kumudavati catchment. Okay, each one is captured based upon GPS, and of course, I'm sorry, I may not be able to enlarge it. It's a PowerPoint. It's in spatial database management, or the GIS method. The second one is injection wells. This is recharge wells, and there is water pools. So now you are coming from top. There is a beautiful saying, when you want to have a holy bath, good bath and healthy bath, you put the water on top. So water services the entire body. So that way, when we talk about the catchment, from the top, the starting point to the last, the approach is being made, which is very useful. Yeah, finally, see the intensity or the density of different structures, what has been put so far is like this. I have just enlarged a portion of this. You see the different symbols, barrages, boulder checks, recharge wells, water pools, and then injection wells. And finally, it's put together. You have almost 390 boulder checks. I may be wrong, there may be small here and there, we must have missed certain parameters when we go to the, it has been checked in the field. Recharge bore wells 44, recharge well 394, water pools 65. So here are the cases you have seen, and we had taken documentation of when it was being built. People were participating, how nicely it was looking at it. But then now I'm come to the slowly the concurrent monitoring evaluation part of it. We have done 2 years something good. What is it today? Whether it is serving my purpose. So one of the boulder checks, the condition, good, no problem. And then water pool, nicely, because this year there was a good rainfall, it had good storage also. And then I didn't want to show something. There are certain water pools which do not have any water but silt. So that's important for us. How do we retain these structures? And here one of the water pools there, and recharge well. The left side is recharge well, right side after this monsoon what has happened. And the other one is injection well. So I'm only trying to indicate to our team and then ourselves that it is not only the obligation of creating structures based upon a very scientific determined principles, but also we have, just now Balmurugan has told, community has an issue, they are the stakeholders, and we should mobilize the community to see that they are really partners in maintaining the things. So that way, the benefits of whatever the recharge measures taken so far has given very fast indication. That is, I'm just, the farmer is telling, okay, every village we have got good groundwater, and the cattle, they have waters for drinking. This is what it is. But then the question need to be answered is, other is a perception, which is basically the response mechanism. And what we need to know is what was the depth when we had groundwater when the intervention was made, what was the piezometric level, what was the section of the subsurface when it was done, and then how slowly it has built up. Only when it builds up, comes up to the level, it starts affluent system, then only the river in a non-rainy day also flows. So we expect this to happen. And then how relevant was our work? Efficiency was done because a lot of people participated efficiently, the structures constructed. Effectiveness was one thing which is relevant here. Relevance is water requirement. Geologically, we have two kinds of rocks. One is of course, both are granitic and the nicest part of it. The other thing is lineament, what we call geological lineaments. And this has been tested further. And then just see the correlation of water pools along the lineaments. So I must congratulate the scientific basis behind which this was taken up. The next one is, it's a societal obligation for us. I am trying to indicate a point to you. 1998, 2001, 2008, and 2017, the land use, which is one of the most important. One side you are trying to increase that I'll put more water into the direct recharge, which may not happen more than 9%, but induced and then direct more forcing, you may try to induce more. But then obligation remains, try to reduce the demand. When I say, don't do cultivation. Do cultivation, optimize the water uses. So there your obligations are met and you have the retention of the system. So the local areas where we wanted to check up is 3 places where we have done. One is 2001, 2008 and 2007 land use studies. You see reducing croplands, increasing garden land, increasing exotic plantation. Here I have one small point to make. Exotic plantation, particularly eucalyptus. Of course, Kerala Forest Research Development Center has brought out very clearly, eucalyptus is an exotic, it is not meant for tropical regions. It not only takes the monsoonal water, it also, whatever the phreatic zone, water moisture going down, it draws up that, and then abstraction from this eucalyptus itself is in Kumudavati in 2008, I know I have not mentioned it here, it was about 8 MCM. So we understand that. So here, reducing croplands means, it is an indication to us, the kharif or rabi single crops are reducing, is good. That means they are trying to see balancing it, increasing garden land, try to optimize use of groundwater, increasing exotic plantation, which may not give anything to us, try to curb that. So Kumudavati catchment, of course, I had just one more thing. One is the eucalyptus plantations, the dark gray one, and 1998 we did the borewell census in Kumudavati. Of course, that time, now I have to do it again, add on to this, 2,651 borewells which are seen on the right hand side. Those were the borewells, density of borewells in Kumudavati. Yeah, this is how we are trying to do, build up a mechanism of database as well as trying to see what has happened to our system. Small areas where you see in the first side, the tip Kamagondlu and down, and then the same is the land use correlation. And the next one I was talking about, I take only 1 minute. Entire Kumudavati, of course, we have made into small catchments or sub-catchments, what we say. What is runoff potential? That means what is my input to my system? That means how many structures I can decide so that my intention of directing, injecting or administering the recharge is oriented. So that way recharge potential, that means runoff potential and actual runoff, 30 years of average, this is how Kumudavati catchment is varying up. And then one more point I just want to say, these points I must pat ourselves last 3-4 years. The water pools are very nicely visible on Google. Here I am drawing it not to show Google images. One of the tanks, how effectively you see the input channel and output channel. There the small area, I have enlarged this here. That means I was talking about indirectly, what is my efficiency of doing this process, work, what way it is relevant, how effective it was, and what is impact whether I have done it or what is the impact is slowly seen. And all these things are proper. The process of art of living's river rejuvenation work will be sustainable. Let us look for, the cooperation, Kumudavati flowing in a couple of years. Thank you.
You have heard all the 4 lectures. If there are any specific questions for the authors, you may kindly ask. Because there is a limited time, only 1 or 2 questions may be asked in each. Yes, please. Yeah, audible you can say. Yeah.
I'm in conformity with all the presentations. But while this is a best example for convergence of the concern, technology, socio-economic, and things like that, I have a serious gap in the whole process. That is, ultimately, it's the individual and the community ownership it matters.
Ownership.
The ownership of these initiatives. I'm a student of United Nations program, UNESCO, UNEP, International Environment Education, 1977, which said, you provide the individual and communities awareness, attitude, knowledge, skill, and participation, they will be able to manage their environment with no or little money. Point number 1. Point number 2, 10 years back at NIAS, we had a program. The program was on transboundary, interstate transboundary water sharing. There I had a paper to present. That was on recycling and reuse. Why do you assume that at Bangalore, we should go on increasing so many million liters per day, and every 5 years it's increasing? But an astronaut has no tap to turn on. What he does, he recycles his sweat and urine and drinks. So what I want to say, while all these presentations are giving wonderful alternatives, unless we have a larger, a macro level perception, a vision, saying that, look, we are ready to give you that much amount of water to Bangalore once in a month, not every day, it makes sense. And the last point I would like to say is, we need to have little of validation process also.
No?
Validation process. All over the world, there's something called best practices in the United Nations. Just 10 fields, 2 pages. As a person who worked in the Sujala watershed project for a little time at ISRO, even though I'm now at ISRO, what I want to say, satellites cannot identify what happens on the ground. The BPL card holders' names were used to move the earth and show so much of expenditure. I'm sorry to say this, it's a very loud thinking I'm doing. So we need to make ultimately the individuals and communities as the owners. Thank God we have art of living. And so much of CSR coming so strongly. But ultimately, the objective has to be the individual and the community. Thank you very much.
Sir, myself, Balaji. I have a question for Dr. Lingaraju. How did you decide the placement of injection wells and recharge wells? Is it just based on your drilling a few wells, or did you carry out any geophysical surveys such as electromagnetic or any such surveys to identify the exact zones where you can inject to place such structures?
Yeah, while explaining, we have used the remote sensing thematic maps, which indicates the geomorphic horizons. And also, we have a theme called lineament, lithology and lineament. So the lineament intersection, even Hegde was showing some maps, where the deep-seated fractures intersect. And very stream network is aligned along such many of the fractures. And the other thing is the collateral information, like the people tell, or when we go for a survey, so many borewells have been drilled, density of the borewells. And the borewells which had sufficient water about 5 years back, now they are dry. That means it can take water, which had been giving water can take water. So Now harvest water and inject it back to the deeper aquifers. So the third one is wherever these many streams intersect, confluence, there will be more flow of water because it is an accumulated flow. There such water can be put to the subsurface so that it can increase the base flow in the downstream area. That is, those are the criteria followed. Thank you.
Sir, I am Ashok Reddy from Kadapa district of Andhra Pradesh, the Water Resources Department of Andhra Pradesh. I thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I appreciate all the speakers just now who have kept the same subject but in a different matter they were treated at the single locations. My question to all of you is one thing, it makes us to one to the other. As my friend rightly pointed out, the specification location of a recharge well must have a proper location. Unless otherwise there is a proper intaking capacity, whether this borewell, recharge borewell, is having the proper capacity to absorb the quantity of water more than the natural recharge, then only I think we have to go. That's what he has told. The geophysical survey at the institute site taking the reading is one of the best methods. There which we can get the clear picture, what is the aquifer depth and where we have to push the water, inject the water at what level. Just above the water table is one of the best approach. Another point which I have seen so many displays here done, the construction of the recharge well. I am not able to see what is the filter media that you have taken up. Because if you go to the geological details, the sedimentology subject, any standing water yields the clay particles. It yields clay particles. Any geologist knows it. You should not, because we are all of here because there is a interference with the natural system. We should not do the same mistake again. If you do not use the proper recharge filter media, the clay particles will clog the aquifers below the surface of the water. Within no time, your constructed structure will become an inefficient one. That precaution I am unable to observe here. The another is the agroeconomic index point. I am unable to judge from the displays. You have to take care of it. Of course, it is easy. A unit recharge of groundwater, what is the unit economic output of the agriculture index in terms of tons or in terms of financial output has to be taken care of. Similarly, cropping pattern also. Similarly, increase in the area. Similarly, what is the rate, poor farmers or big farmers, what is the socio-economic condition if you take up how many people they have gone for another system of jumping to from the livelihood conditions. All those things will also be indicators of the economic output. That has to be taken care of. Another thing is the impact evaluation for groundwater assessment. With this one, the dynamic groundwater balance is given as 34.92 MCM and draft is given as 43.67 MCM with an overdraft of 125%. At the same time, the CDs and the tanks, null bunds, and some other recharging harvesting are also mentioned, specified here. Have you taken care of what is the natural recharge from these water harvesting structures already existing in that area, and how much necessity still exists, whether you have to go for another new structures in that area? What is the total quantum of water that is being water harvested in your structures, and what is the quantity of water actually it is being input into the groundwater? Are you adding to the groundwater? Are you making to the evaporation contributions? These factors has to be enlightened at this, I think you might have taken care of, but it was not explained here. So how much, this I think has to be clarified in total. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's a big question paper for me. Anyway, thank you for suggestions, but we have been observing, not only me, even the common people there, they know the depth of penetration of the bore wells and drying up and all that. It has been, several studies already have been made. In fact, I was thinking of going for geophysical survey. Yeah. So all this has been observed and enough care has been taken. Two of our civil engineers are here. They have taken care of how to filter the water and allow it to the injection well. They are putting some mesh and all that, perforated casing, all that. And also they put jelly over the broken rocks on that. And boulder checks will check the speed of the running water to reduce the siltation. All that care is being taken. It is not a lab, it is the land. And we know how poor it was to recharge, the natural recharge. This is also, we are only accelerating the natural process of recharge. Because we are doing it along the streams, which is like just like a nervous system for the entire basin, and it has been giving very good results. You can visit day after tomorrow, and also we have some movies to show. Thank you.
I think most of the questions which you have asked, it will be again raised into the concluding session and panel discussion and all that. They are very relevant. Of course, we'll answer them also. Yeah, we will discuss this in panel discussion. Yeah.
Irrigation and Water Resources Department will give a clear-cut directions, cropping pattern and other things, depending on the storage capacity of reservoirs and other things. But here, what's the role is played by the government departments, whether any permissions are taken, or at a later date are you going to take it?
Permission taken for?
See, we are closely interacting with the Gram Panchayat level. We attend Gram Sabha. They will just hear us and then make the action plan approved. That is the approval. And any more thing from the government side?
No, precisely I'm asking about Water Resources Department, because irrigation projects, you are very well aware that as such I put this question to you. It is up to you people.
No, irrigation department, water resources department.
Because similar type of data collection, implementation of projects and all is being handled by the Water Resources Department also under World Bank project, which is very well aware by our Dr. Lingaraju sir. As such, I just focused on this point.
No, here the question of water resource department coming into picture is still not arisen, because these are rivers are almost dry most of the time, and it's not yielding to sufficient water to dam it. Now the river, there is efforts to rejuvenate, and okay, and Dr. Lingaraj, as he said, the most of the area, except in the urban, peri-urban area, if you leave it, it's in the rural area, and the rural development Panchayat Raj department, they decide what is to be done where, and the Gram Sabhas, they decide the location of the work, as our friend was telling, the ownership. So when we did the work under Narega, it is the local community who did the work and who owned it. So that is the Rural Development Panchayat Raj department that's doing. Yeah, RDPR is doing, and then the agriculture, horticulture, and all other department, watershed department, they are also there in the picture. They are in the know of the things, and they are also planning their interventions accordingly. In whichever watershed, whichever the catchment, this intervention is there, that is taken into account by the other departments.
As a caution, I expressed when once the rivers are in full swing, all other departments concerned will come into the picture and they will write so many.
Yeah, that situation is still a few years away.
Sir, one thing, I just want to give to the sir. Sir, there is a planning for our cost-benefit analysis regarding to the agriculture production and how much amount we have spent for the construction of the artificial recharge structures, and I think it's yet to done. We are waiting for that.
Sir, my question is attached to the same thing. What was the cost of one of the projects? Meaning, if it is Kumadwati, could you place a figure that we can think of?
The cost of, like, if you whole project or a single work?
No, whole project.
Whole project, like I was telling in Vedavati project, it is 5,500 square kilometer. We had done some 22,000 structures we had planned. That was costing more than 200 crores. And till last year, 1/4 of the interventions were completed. The remaining are under process. So that is the costing. The Kumudavati and of course the smaller project and maybe some 8-10 crores rupees.
Totally it requires some 20 crores.
Yeah. Kumudavati around 20 crores the total project. One response to Dr. Hegede's, I would like to say, like those eucalyptus exotic plantations. So they are not being planted by the government now. They have banned it, the eucalyptus plantation. In fact, from 2010-11, the forest department have been stopped from raising eucalyptus trees and planting eucalyptus in the forest land. Now, others also cannot plant eucalyptus. That kind of order is given. And in Kolar now, people have started uprooting the eucalyptus and planting horticulture, the growing for the horticulture crops. But whatever you are seeing, the eucalyptus crops, exotic crops here and there in the peri-urban area, they're basically mostly absentee landlords who have put it in the eucalyptus and they are there in the city. So those kind of earlier situations.
Sir, of course, I am not against to government planting, but this was a social issue which came in the research paper by Kerala Forest Research about 8 years back. Eucalyptus, what is the problem of eucalyptus as an exotic species in even weatherland. So when we talk about Kumudavati or Arkavati or anywhere in Bangalore surroundings, it's not the government land alone the eucalyptus have been planted. It is basically absentee landlords who have gone in for eucalyptus, and then of course what is the indication to them as a farmers, as stakeholders in the process is, try to contain yourself.
That order is issued to stop them also planting.
I think we have completed this. We are going to go to the next session. I request the organizers to give the program.
On behalf of the organizers, I thank Dr. Shankar and Dr. Srinivasan for successfully conducting this session. I think now we are exactly half an hour behind the schedule. I also thank all the speakers, which has a wonderful presentation followed by a lot of discussions and all. So what I suggest is whatever the points what you are just having, it will just have a very good input for the panel discussion and what the future, what is the thing we can just do it in the way forward. We can just note it down. So these things we can, to save the time, I request you to just keep it and we can discuss in the panel discussion. And as a mark of respect, I request Harsha Saab to just come and just give the mementos to all the speakers, chair and co-chair. He is Professor Petkar. He is the in charge of Maharashtra, our technical team. So it's a big hand to all the speakers and then the chair and co-chair. Thank you very much.
Somebody was asking about the geophysical investigations. The geophysical investigations are already been implemented in Maharashtra. We are taking care of geophysics also to pinpoint the locations for artificial recharge wells.
Okay, I request you to assemble here by 4:30. The session will continue up to 6 o'clock. Instead of 5:30, it will go up to 6 o'clock. Thank you.